Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we have a short little announcement video about BLI's new engine. I'm sure you've seen the title already, so it's pretty obvious. But real quick, so at the really end, I'm also going to do a little short rant about BLI and their choice of model prototypes to make. So yeah, if you want to stay tuned for that, be sure to watch the entire video. If you don't want to talk about controversial topics, then we'll continue with what we're going to talk about. For the main topic. So, the main topic is that BLI actually announced, or leaked, I guess, that they're going to make the Santa Fe Blue Goose model. Now, this was leaked, as I said, on, I believe, Facebook. However, I actually confirmed with some BLI representatives that this is actually going to happen. They are actually going to make the Santa Fe Blue Goose model. Now, if you guys didn't know, Santa Fe Blue Goose is actually a rather famous Santa Fe engine. Despite Santa Fe only having one ever Blue Goose, and they only had really two streamlined steamers. So it was the Blue Goose and the Valley Flyer, which is a rather obscure and unsuccessful, arguably unsuccessful model or engine. But the Blue Goose was very successful. They really marketed it well. They put it on all their advertisements. They had lots of photos taken with the Blue Goose, sitting next to some war bonnets, early diesels. And it is just absolutely a gorgeous engine that Santa Fe heavily marketed, and that's the reason why many people know about it. So the Blue Goose, a little history about it. It was one of six Santa Fe Super Hudsons, the 3460 class. It was numbered 3460 through 3465, and the first ever engine of the line 3460 was chosen to be streamlined into the Blue Goose scheme. Unfortunately, the other five was never streamlined, and so only one of these ever existed. I think they did a really good job. I think it's not too special, but I think it has definitely its own flair. The light blue, dark blue, and the reflective polish on the sides, the silver really help, and I think it looks really beautiful. So, anyways, yeah, that is a little bit history about the model. In terms of what the model is going to be in BLI. I think it's going to be fantastic. BLI has a really solid track record in terms of making models that are accurate and detailed. So I do suspect that this is going to be a brass hybrid engine. I mean, the thing about BLI is that many of their, non-brass hybrid engines, the reason they choose them is, for one reason, is so they can mass produce them over time. So, for example, their I1SA, they made it through like 3 or 4 Paragon series, including the PCM, and then Paragon 2, Paragon 3, Paragon 4. This is not one of those engines I see BLI making that will, they'll make for like the next 3 Paragon lines. I think this is one of those engines that BLI will just make for maybe 2 small brass hybrid runs and just call it a day there. It also benefits from being brass in terms of the streamlining. If a plastic-made streamlined engine would have really thick shrouding, whereas a brass model can have really thin shrouding, really fine shrouding that looks just really good. So this engine can definitely benefit being being made out of brass. That is a little bit about BLI's model. Now continuing to the rant. So first off, I assume this engine is going to be pretty expensive. I would assume it to be, along with other brass hybrid engines, around maybe anywhere between $600 and probably $900. Their prices are they're really growing these days, so you never know. But I expect it to be under $1,000. Now, that might seem really expensive, but honestly, I'm okay with that. BLI, they chose a good prototype, and here's what I mean by that. So, obviously, this is a very famous prototype that many modelers will want, so the demand is very high. However, the supply is very low in the sense that only three manufacturers currently has or have made the Blue Goose. Rivarossi made one, and that one just looks terrible. They just took the New York Central Hudson tender, and they took the New York Central Hudson chassis and just slapped some weird-looking, really inaccurate, Blue Goose-looking sort of shell on top, and they called it a day. And somehow that engine sells for like $150 to $200 these days on eBay, which is insane, because it's just very inaccurate, and it looks close, it looks like a good representation maybe of the Blue Goose, but in terms of accuracy, it's very much off. And the fact that that thing goes for so much money these days is just crazy. Really shows how many people really want the Blue Goose, And the other manufacturer was Tenshoto. Tenshoto's Blue Goose is a little bit better. It is brass. However, it's really crude. They basically just took an unstreamlined 464 engine and just put a Blue Goose shell over it. The engine is not very accurate, as I said. The bullet nose shape is kind of off. The boiler sits way too high on the chassis, and there's some other inaccuracies. But it is a better model, and a better model to at least start with. You can, with enough modifications and whatnot, you can make it look accurate. But it's still not a great model. And then we have Hallmark. So Hallmark is really the only, in my opinion, viable or good Blue Goose representation or model that has been made. Hallmark made it in their Super Crown series, which was their very high-end, expensive, and rare series. These engines sold for between like $1,500 to $1,800. They are crazy expensive, and they made a very limited run of these. Now I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but they were really rare. They made it in both the original skirt and the de-skirt, partially de-skirted modernized version, I guess you could call it, with the extended stack. But these engines are absolutely beautiful. Hallmark did an excellent job on them. I especially like the plating on the sides. They look really fantastic. However, as I said, these things are really rare and they go for a lot of money these days. And that is the reason I think BLI made an excellent decision in choosing to make the Blue Goose, because supply is very low and demand is arguably pretty high, for this model. So I think BLI did a really good job. Now we can actually compare that to the Pennsylvania Railroad E6 that they actually announced already. I'm sure you guys have seen that announcement already, and I kind of don't really like their announcement because I feel like the E6 was not a good choice to bring to the market. Because the E6 is already so mass-produced in HO. There's 3 major brass manufacturers that make it. There's Keys, there's Alco, and then there's Gem Brass. These manufacturers all made the brass E6, and they honestly look good. The Key Brass looks fantastic, obviously, but they go for more than $1,000, so that's probably out of most people's price range. But the Alco one looks fantastic, despite having some of them having gear issues, which again is really easy to replace. Just get a Northwest Shoreline gearbox, and the Gem model, there's also some things that need to be corrected. The boiler sits too high, and there's a few minor details that are off. But for the most part, it is an excellent model, and you can get them for like $150. I paid only $100 for mine, and mine actually came with a whole bunch of extra features like DCZ and whatnot. It was an excellent deal. I got it for a stealable price, and I don't think people can really recreate that. However, that being said, I do see them sell fairly often for about $150, maybe $200 if you're unlucky, and that is honestly a good deal for one of those, because even after you account for the price of a motor and DCC decoder, it's still like $300, maybe a little bit more than that. Whereas BLI wants like $599 MSRP. I assume they're probably going to sell realistically in the market for $399 or $450, somewhere around there. I know Train Road announced their price for being $479, but I don't think they're going to sell too many with that price. But anyways, I just think it's just not a good choice to make, because yes, demand is high. I mean, 460 was finally cosmetically restored, the Limburg Special. Or the Limburg engine, I guess you could call it. But yeah, it's a famous engine, but I feel like demand is definitely high. Like that's definitely fact. But the thing is, supply is also fairly high. People who want an E6, also there's Bowser and MDC. They also made excellent die-cast versions of the E6. They need, again, some more details and whatnot, but you can easily get one, and for really cheap. And so the choice to choose that model to bring to the HO market is just a little bit questionable to me, because they could have chosen a much better prototype that is, either really rare or just doesn't exist altogether in HO that is in high demand. There's still many New York Central Streamline engines, including the Mercury, for example, which is extremely rare and only available in brass for also about $1,500. And there's just a lot of other models they could easily bring to the market, but they chose not to. They chose to make an engine that's already been mass-produced back then, and basically only caters toward people who don't want to, really work on their models. They basically made it ready to run, and they charge you a lot more now for it. Anyways, that's just kind of my rant. I'm not saying that the E6 was a bad model to choose. Obviously, there's a high demand for it, but I do feel they could have chosen a better engine to bring to the masses of the HO market. Anyways, that is my rant. I think BLI's Blue Goose is an excellent choice, as I said, and I definitely look forward to it. I do plan on getting one. I know it's going to be really expensive, but it's cheaper than the Hallmark ones, so I still count that as a win. I don't plan to buy any E6s because, again, I already have a Gem one, and I just don't see spending almost double the price for a ready-to-run engine when I could just make, modify one myself. I also get more enjoyment out of working on my engines anyways, so it's a win-win for me. But yeah, anyways, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. BLI is, they're going to be making a lot of engines, and I'm sure everyone wants BLI to make, their own engine, but anyways, just let me know your thoughts on, the Blue Goose. Do you guys plan to buy one? Do you like the Blue Goose? And yeah, so let me know. But that's pretty much it for this video. I just wanted to tell you guys about the leaks and the confirmed leaks that BLI is making one of these. They're going to announce it, I believe, on their February 10th stream, and they're going to announce it later on their webpage in about 1 or 2 weeks. But yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know ahead of time. And yeah, so again, let me know how you feel, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.